So I learned about maple sugaring when I was in grad school studying forestry. We went to the school, Sugar Bush, had a pancake breakfast. We got a tour of the whole thing. I was just amazed by it. And I went, and like I was 20 years, 21, 22, whatever. And so I immediately went home that weekend, started tapping some trees. I wanted to make my own syrup, and I just ruined it. I mean, I had no patience. I couldn't sit there and watch a pot boil. I ruined my mother's 2 best pots, burned them. She kicked me out of the house. I had to then boil outside I tried to make up a fire thing outside. Ashes came up, got into it. It was horrible. And I gave up trying to make syrup. I continued to tap trees for a few more years, and all I did was just boil it down a little bit and drink the sap. I drank it either raw, or I boiled it down and drank it, or I cooked with it. Because sap by itself, just as a beverage, is amazing. And you can just drink the sap. You cook with it by just replacing anything you would use water for, you use sap. So whether it's your rice or your soup or stew or oatmeal, your coffee, your tea, anything that you normally use water for, put it with sap. You get all the extra minerals and nutrients and polyphenols and antioxidants and all that good stuff that's in the sap. It's a little bit sweet. You can make it sweeter if you want by boiling it down a little bit more. And it's just great stuff. And so I advise a lot of people who have just a couple trees, don't even bother to try to make syrup. The sap is too valuable. It's at least 40 to 1 just to get the syrup. You can go buy syrup way cheaper than you can make it. Okay, but you can't go buy, if you go to buy the sap, I see we have one, this is sap maple seltzer. A big part of our business is selling sap to the beverage companies that put it in bottles. Sap exclamation point is one of them we sell to. We also sell the drink maple and a few others. And it's a lot more expensive to buy sap in a can or a bottle than it is to get it right out of the tree in the backyard.
Okay. So most of the work in
doing this research, Yuping is heading up this project, and part of the overall arching research question, it's a combination of research and education. We want to do some research, get a lot of data, but the main thing is to educate folks like yourself, teach you all about how to do it, and inspire and educate you to be able to go do it the best way you can, right? And one of those ways is to know how much you're going to get from different tree species, from say box elder or big tooth maple, and based on what size of the tree and the collection method that you use, whether you're just hanging a bucket on a tree, or like some of you have steep hillsides, and we're going to run some of that 3/16 tubing, and if you put vacuum and tubing, how much more you get. So we're going to get a lot of data. That's like part of the whole project here, is to tap lots of different trees, get the data on the size of the trees, the health of those trees, the species, and then how much sap we get out of them. Just a little background on how sap flows. Anytime during the dormant season, when you have like freezing temperatures followed by a thaw, you're going to get sap flow in maple. So when it's freezing, the trees actually develop an internal vacuum, and they suck water up through the roots. And they fill the tree with water, with sap that was groundwater. Becomes sap when it gets in the tree, picks up sugars that are stored inside the tree, picks up minerals, gets that all concentrated. So then you have this sap inside the tree. And then when it thaws, it expands, and it'll if there's a hole in the tree, it's just going to drip down out of it. That's why you get the drips coming out, and that's all gravity-based drips coming from above as the tree pressurizes when it thaws.
So sugar at the bottom
Darker syrup tends to have more minerals. It tends to produce later in the season, and the trees take up more minerals. When that water, the trees are pulling up water out of the ground with the minerals and just concentrating that as well. So you wind up, the sap at the end of the season has a higher mineral concentration than at the beginning of the season. The analogy I often, because the biggest issue you have out here, I would think, would be drought. Okay? That's what's going to actually hurt these trees. The analogy I often give is like drought is getting hit by a bus, And when you scrape your arm when you fall on the ground and lose a little bit of blood, that's like getting tapped, okay? The drought, the bust killed you. Losing a little bit of blood is not a big deal. We're taking less than 5% of the sugar reserves out of the tree when we tap them. So it's not like it helps them, but it's not what's hurting them. It's not what they're gonna die from. All right, so there is, I would say, definitely concern with droughts in the West in general and how it's gonna affect the trees.
So do you give a tree a break?
And the argument I often make, it's not so much that applicable here. Yeah. On the East Coast, maples are extremely valuable for their timber. And so there's a lot of pressure in the logging community to harvest the maple for the lumber. And the best way to save maples from death by being cut for lumber is to tap them, because it gives you an economic incentive to keep those trees around year after year, continue to tap them. Maples are a much bigger part of the ecosystem throughout the entire Northeast and Eastern US and Canada because they were the trees that were saved for sugar production. Almost the entire East Coast was cleared for agriculture. They left the maples. And then the maple seeded in. Now maple is a much bigger, maple's like 30 to 40% of the canopy in a lot of places compared to it didn't used to be that way.
Is it the same kind of maple? Or?
There's over 120 species of maple throughout the world, mostly actually over in Asia.
Oh.
And here in Utah, we have big tooth maple, box elder, and then like you'll see planted, you'll see silver maple planted, you'll see red maple planted, sugar maple planted, Norway maple planted.
That makes sense, that's why.
So we're gonna talk about tree size, and we're gonna be evaluating different trees, whether or not ones we wanna tap. We did some research, preliminary research on what the tapping potential is in Utah. Maybe Jesse, you're gonna be doing a lot more detailed work on that?
We did a little bit this year.
Yeah. And just in forest land, and this would probably, I don't think this would be considered forest land. If an FIA plot, if a U.S. Forest Service FIA plot landed in this, the U.S. Forest Service administers, they do a random plot throughout the entire country in a grid pattern. And they go and they inventory that same plot every 10 years and look at trends and how trees are growing and the health and all that stuff and what trees are there. And for all the plots in the forest land in Utah, there's 6 million big leaf maples. The last time we did the research, there was 6 million big tooth maple that were above 9 inches in diameter. And that's generally considered in the East Coast about the smallest size you want to tap. All else being equal, a larger tree will give you more sap. Okay, so what we're trying to do with the research part of this is to quantify, get data on saying, okay, 6-inch tree gives you this much, 7-inch, 8-inch, 9-inch, and get a linear, and just see how well that holds with big tooth maple. We've done that with other species, and we want to do that with big tooth maple as well. Just so people know, like just looking up here, which ones of these would you want to tap, and how much sap could you get if you decide to tap them? So that'll be something that we're doing over the next few years. So we're definitely going to tap this one again. We'll put a pink flag by it. Another way that you know a tree is stressed is when it sends out what are called epicormic branching. See these little branches that are coming out? Mm-hmm. Trees only do that when they're stressed. Oh. And when you see those, you know you're having stress issues on the trees.
Tap hole right here.
So maple trees can be very damaged on one side, and the other side can be fine. Now, doesn't mean the other side's fine. So let's go.
So I put the tap hole right here, but you can see.
And I look at,
there's a lot of damage there.
Yeah, so it's got a seam going up here. You just have a lot of internal decay in this tree. Now the tree, it's got some dead branches up there. You look at the top, you can see some even fine little dead branches. It's got epicormic branching here. So it's not a great tree, but I would tap it. I would tap it with tubing, and I would get up here away from all this stuff into the really good wood up there, and I wouldn't hesitate to bring a little stepladder here and make sure I got into the really good part of the tree.
So you just don't go.
Tap as anywhere you want on the tree. When you're doing a bucket, the thing is like a bucket, you know, and you say there's 1.5 feet of snow when you go to set this. So you generally set it at the height that's convenient
Oh, okay.
with a bucket.
So you don't have to set it at 4.5. Okay.
Yeah, yep. But I would tap, because this tree is otherwise pretty healthy, it's got a lot of structural problems down here, but you get up there and boy, that's great.
And you said to always
Circumference is, you know, pi d, right? Okay, so yeah, you always measure it at 4.5 feet. So right here, this is a circumference of 37 inches. Divide that by 3.14, it's about 12. If anything you put tubing on up here is gonna have 27 inches of vacuum. And anything you put a bucket on is gonna have 0. And every inch of vacuum gives you about 6% more sap. So you're gonna well more than double and probably triple your production by any trees up here being on tubing versus a bucket.
And that's strictly because of the vacuum created by the gravity.
The vacuum created by the 3/16 going all the way down to the road from up here.
Okay.
What's the difference for elevation in terms of vacuum?
Every foot of elevation is gonna give you about 0.8 inches of vacuum. So if you have 40 feet of elevation gain, well, 35 feet of elevation gain, you're gonna get perfect vacuum.
What if it's higher, like 200 or 250?
You can't get better than perfect. So as soon as you're over 35 feet, you know, you're gonna be, so it's great. And then, so having 200 feet of elevation is great because it means just more of your tubing system is gonna have that perfect vacuum. The ones down there by the bottom aren't gonna have much vacuum because they're not gonna have a lot of pitch. Yeah, you can put it up anytime.
Because then you're gonna put it up and then take it down.
Well, you don't have to take it down either. It all depends on aesthetics and use. All right, so if it's not in the way, and we can design this system so it's not in the way, and you don't really gonna have to take it down. You might wanna take it down for aesthetics or for cleaning because it's gonna be a lot easier for you to clean this tubing if you can bring it into your bathtub and soak it in bleach than it is trying to do it another way.
How often do you have to clean?
Every year. You wanna have optimal yields. If you don't care, you never have to clean it.
Can you flush it? Like, could you flush through it with?
You could try, yeah, you can get a hose and push through it and that's gonna do okay. But the only way you really,
Hot water.
the only way, no, it's not even the hot water. The only reason the way you really even sanitize it is with bleach. You have to do it in a bleach solution, 30-minute contact time. It's not the residual sap. What happens with this 3/16 tubing is that bacteria and yeast are gonna grow in there. And they're gonna start to grow and grow and grow. And especially if they have wood chips or wood shavings or moss or something that, you know, wasn't.
So that really matters when you're drinking the sap.
Yeah, because the sap is gonna all get
It's gonna get
pasteurized and boiled down. What it matters is that it comes down to your total sap yield because the bacteria that's in your tubing system actually migrates into your tap hole into the tree. And that's what causes the tree to wall off that area in the tree and creates your sap flow to stop.
So in your 160,000 trees, do you pull out each one of those taps and just dangle it until the next year?
Well, we actually do. We have a removable drop line system. We haven't really put up any tubing yet, but when you see it, there's going to be tubes that go in between the trees that are called the lateral lines, and then the drop line is what goes, there's a T that goes from the lateral line to your spout. We have removable ones, and we twist those off so we can bring that back in and soak them with bleach and clean them. Because that's the most critical part of the Whole
not
tubing
in the
system
tree.
the whole tubing system is your drop line and your spout. So we put in a brand new spout every year, and we clean that drop line.
Now, I did hear.
Exactly, if you want to get the highest yield.
So I think I misunderstood you. So we do drill a new hole each year.
Every year you drill a new hole, and what you do is you do a pattern.
It's the tree.
Okay, so this is what you do. You drill, you go here, and then the next year you go over an inch, up 12, and then over an inch, down 12, over an inch, up 12, and you can keep on moving your way. And that 12 is a minimum height thing. The inch is about, like on a tree like this, you can go over 4. You could just keep on moving over different ways. But the problem is that by the time you get back to where you started, you might hit into the same area. So when you go over an inch, like this tree, I have my circumference thing, right? So our tree here has a circumference of, where's the inches one?
Turn it over. Yeah, right there.
Okay, yeah. The circumference of this is about, let's just say it's 24. That means I can get 24 holes around this tree if I just do it every inch. Okay? And in those 24 years that I'm moving around the tree every inch, the tree's going to grow out. I don't know how much, but hopefully at least 2 inches. Hopefully at least actually 4 inches, because it's 4 inches in diameter, gives you 2 inches of radius. So if I go to drill into the same spot again here,
You're not going to bump it.
I'm only going in an inch and a half. That initial tap hole that I put in there is covered up with 2 more inches of new wood, and I drill into new wood. I only go an inch and a half deep, and then we don't wind up hitting the old spot.
Remind me.
And you got the bark, generally speaking, very simplified, you got the bark, sapwood, heartwood, okay? And every time you drill a hole, you essentially create more heartwood. Heartwood is just non-conductive to sap flow. In the center of every tree is some heartwood that the sap's not flowing there. When you drill a hole in the tree, it creates a stained column. That's what that bacteria is doing, is trying to get in, and the tree's saying, I'm gonna wall that off, and I create a stained column of wood. And that stained column is no longer conducive to sap flow. So that's why you only want to do 1 tap hole per tree every year.
Over one. And
Exactly, yeah. And so what some people do now, because the research has just been done, and I say in the last 5 to 10 years, on the ability to collect sap below. Keep in mind, 99% of maple syrup in the world is made with tubing, and the tubing is all, say, about this height. And so all your tap holes are right up in here, okay? And some of these trees have been tapped for 40, 50, 60 years. And you have a hard time finding a good spot to tap because you have all these tap holes. The tree's fine. You're not gonna kill the tree by tapping it. What's gonna happen is that you're gonna wind up with all these like scarred wood, these tap hole stain columns, and it's just gonna be hard to find a good spot to tap. And so with high vacuum, when you put a vacuum to it, you can actually put your drop line, take it and go below and tap down in here where it's all clean, white, fresh sapwood. And the vacuum sucks it up and you're off to the races. We're gonna have 27 inches of vacuum up here. So we can run, and the other thing, like with tubing, you always want, the mantra is like tight, straight, downhill. Except for with 3/16, you can get away with all sorts of stuff when you have high vacuum up here. You can run it up and down, loop-de-doo, and it just saps good. You're gonna see it, it's gonna be flying through it. It's so fun.
oh, talk to us about the drops, because
You can tap in the winter when it's cold, if it's super cold out, and you got the snow. For instance, at our operation, we tap 160,000 trees. And we can't just go tap on March 1st because that's when the sap's running. We start putting them in January 2nd. It takes us 2 months. But it is cold and snowy, and there's no activity going on inside the tree. There's no sap flowing. You know, you're not getting the bacteria or anything growing. So those trees that are tapped when it's cold, it's fine because then they'll be pretty much close to a fresh tap hole when the sap starts to run in March.
Okay, when you're,
So I'm going to start at the top here. Steve's going to hold it and unspool. So I'm going on one side of a tree and then the other, and then the other. I'm constantly weaving through and making sure it always goes downhill. I want to see where my next tree is before I grab this one. I want to know where I'm going to go after.
Yeah.
And so I could grab, this was pretty easy. I just weaved these 3 trees. There was not a lot of thought.
I'm always trying to stay 2 trees ahead.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, I got those over there, this right here. What I think I want to do is come over by Lisa, grab that tree, come back over, grab this, and then head over there, then back this way. So it's the least amount of weaving.
Every single,
Yes. And then this tree is actually a little downhill of this tree. But I can be a little higher on this tree, a little lower on this tree. So that makes sure my tubing always goes downhill. So we're going to leave it about this height, and the deer will go right underneath it. Or you can take it down and put it back up.
You have met our
Yeah, so the deer don't nibble on this, but the squirrels do. So if you have a lot of squirrels,
we have a lot of
got a lot of
squirrels.
squirrels.
if you want to reduce your squirrel problem, you can take it down in the off season. Make sure the squirrels don't chew it. This has a lot of grip to it. When it starts going around trees,
A lot of friction.
yeah, a lot of friction. And you can see this next tree here, it's got a scar all along this one side. So I definitely going to put the tubing, I would go on the other side anyways, but I'm only going to tap the other side of this tree. It's otherwise a pretty healthy tree. The other side is good, but I don't want to tap anything on this side because of the scar. So I'm going around. Can somebody come down and get on the other side? Okay, keep on pulling. Okay, now you went on the wrong side of this tree. You want to get on the other side so that we're always trying to weave it between.
Are we going to hit that one?
Yep. Okay, and then I see some more further downhill, so we're going to keep going.
Mike, are you ever putting like a little,
You're going to see how tight this is going to be. Okay, so Greg, if you can keep on pulling as we need it. Everybody else, you can come down here. King, we want to grab, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we got plenty of trees here. Okay, great. King, we want to grab, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we got plenty of trees here. Okay, great. So we're going to go grab these ones over here by Dennis. So we're not going to, this one's too small. Yep, so you get on the other side of this. Go over, grab those other 2. Perfect, and then uphill side of this one, because you're then going to go over to here. And we're never going to tap this side of the tree, so you can get on this side of here, and we'll just have a long drop line. Let's go grab those 3 over there. We're gonna stop. Okay, we can stop pulling. We can stop pulling. Okay, everybody can come down. You can check this out. This is a lot of trees. You're gonna have that 35-gallon thing. You're probably gonna be wheeling it into something, not lifting it. And we're gonna wanna be on the pavement to do that.
Okay.
So we're gonna keep on running this down and we're gonna wrap it around that. We can either go to the oak or we can go to the conifer. Because we just wanna get it somewhere close, and then we're gonna have a drop line basically that's gonna go to your tank. So enough. This is an end-of-line fitting. There's lots of different types. We happen to have this one today, okay? But this one has this pin here is where the spout goes onto in the off-season. Okay? That's what that's for. Then you have one barb fitting here and one here. I pushed it onto this one. I wrapped it around the tree. I hooked it into here, and now when you pull on it, it's holding it in tight. And now when the sap comes down here, it's gonna then run around the tree and then come out this part, because we're gonna put another tube that's gonna go right into our tank that's gonna sit right on the pavement.
So this you don't.
And on the other end, if say this was the top tree, on the other side, we could have done it this way so that if I hook it up a different way like that, and let's say it's going downhill, then this is going to be my drop line. It's going to come out, come down into here, run around the tree, and head down. So it can be used for the top or the bottom on a system like this. Tubing is very difficult to clean. No matter how well you clean it, it's not going to be clean. It's going to be cleaner, but it won't be like new tubing. Brand new tubing is very clean. It's going to give you the best sap yields you ever get, all else being equal. Next year, what I would suggest for this line, what you're going to be able to do is you'll be able to just, the great thing about this, you can just unhook it. That's all you need to do is just unhook it, take it in. I'd put it in your bathtub, fill it with bleach, all your tubing in there, let it soak for a while.
What concentration?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's pretty low concentration.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Sanitize like
Probably like a cup of bleach, but
The materials on this is probably $3 to $4 per tap.
Okay. That's not, yeah.
But remember,
It's
you're
not bad,
filling
though.
the landfills with the tubing every time you throw it out.
Exactly, yeah. And so, so there's an economic question. When you're doing it on a hobby scale, it doesn't really matter if your yields are a little less year. Okay, because there's also an expression in.
A bug off your
Okay. There's an expression in sugaring. You cannot wait for sugaring to get here, and you cannot wait for it to end. Okay, so if you don't wash your tubing, what's going to happen is you're just going to have less sap at the end of the season. Okay, so you're not going to have as much flow at the end of March, beginning of April, as if you washed your tubing. For people who are doing it for a living, like us in our company, it makes a huge difference. Okay, because we're doing it for our livelihood. When you're doing it more for an enjoyable hobby and nice thing to do, but it's not your livelihood, you have a different set of priorities. And so, so you don't have to go through a ton of time and expense to do the very best job cleaning you can. Every time sap flows through it, it's cleaning it out as well. Okay, so the first runs basically get it
I was talking
more
to
clean.
Trent, and
But that's a very expensive cleaner. Sap is very valuable, and that first sap, it might not be the best sap. I wouldn't drink it. That's not the stuff for drinking or cooking with. That's the stuff for boiling down into a syrup, and it's going to be a good, delicious syrup. Okay, we never throw away sap from the beginning of the season. It always makes good syrup. It always looks like, oh man, maybe we should dump that, and we never do. And we're always glad we never dump it because the syrup turns out fantastic. Drinking sap, and cooking sap, especially for drinking sap, you want to have like 3 or 4 runs go through to really clean out, make sure you got everything out from, there would be the residual, and then when you get a good fast flow, and even here, this is going to be, I think it's going to be like 15 taps on this line, and it's got pretty good pitch. I think we gain at least 10 feet here. And so we're going to have decent vacuum on this. These are good, healthy trees. There's lots of water in the soil here. You're going to get good flow out of here.
Okay,
Okay.
well, good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to walk this back up to the top. We're going to put an end fitting at the top and make it super tight. And then we have this tool where we're going to cut in the drop lines at each tree. And everybody's going to get a chance to cut in a drop line and use the two-handed tool to show you how you can put in the drop line to tap the trees. No, so a drop line is where the sap drops out of the tree into your lateral line. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk this back, pulling tension on it and making sure that it is going uphill the whole way and has really good tension. So Jesse, why don't you lead the way? Grab it and keep on going. Okay, you can see that this tool here, you see how tight this is. You got a lot of tension on it. There's not gonna be any sags, and it holds it right in place. And so now we're gonna put in what this is just called a regular T. And this is a two-handed tool. I happen to have 3 hands. My third hand is right here, all right? Because you always got to hold your fitting with one. Your elbow pushes it on one side and the other hand on the other side. And you got to line it up just right. Make sure it's good. Squeeze, on and released. No.
No?
No, you can try to pull on this all day. We could have tug of war, it's not coming off.
The tubing is stretched like paper. thin,
Yeah,
so that
before it comes off the front. And,
That's so tight, I thought it was just,
and then I can just push that on by hand because there's no tension.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a spout. And I can just push the spout on by hand as well.
Why are you putting a drop line right here?
Because there's a nice tree.
So that's gonna.
Yeah, so this is what's going to happen.
Why not let this just like put a coupler there and let it drain? Put a coupler there and let it drain down to the bottom.
Okay, so this drop line here, we're going to drill a hole in this tree in February. Sap's going to come out of the tree, come right down this, hit this T, and keep on going.
So we're gonna do that on every tree, right?
We're going to put one of these on every one.
Okay.
The reason we started with this one is because when we were, remember there's tension and weaving between each trees. And we went from that tree, I made the mistake, and I went, instead of going around this tree, I went right through, and it wouldn't have been up against this tree. So we pulled tension this way.
In a way that it's up against a tree and there's not going to be any tension.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and this is, so just for terminology, this is what in the sugaring industry we always refer to as the lateral line.
Okay, the lateral.
And this is called the drop line. Over time, we're going to go here, then there. We're going to keep moving ourselves around the tree. Whoopsie. We'll start, first tap hole, I'm going to suggest is going to be right there.
Okay.
And then next year is going to be here. And then there. And then here. And there. 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 And we're going to keep on working our way around the tree.
I'll be dead by then.
You stop using a tree when it becomes to a point where the health is so poor that you worry about a vacuum leak from the fact that the tree is in such bad health that it's not giving sap. There's just a lot of dead wood and air coming out, And so if this was a bad tree, if we tap into a bad spot and this has an air leak coming in, we're not going to get any of that natural vacuum. It's going to be an air leak into the system and we're not.
A tight system.
Yeah, you have to drill the hole. We're going to practice some drilling this afternoon. You have to drill that hole straight in, straight out. Make sure that there's no shavings or anything. You tap that spout in just right, and it's a nice, clean seal hole. All of this, there's no air coming in here. You can have a completely tight system. And when that tubing system is tight, your tap hole is in perfect, then you don't have any leaks and you can develop a vacuum.
So you're basically, what's the bottom?
You'd see that there would be a difference in the air bubbles. There's always going to be some air coming out of the tree. It's a mixture of gas and liquid. And the air bubbles are going to change, and it's just a lot easier to show you when it's happening or show you in a video than try to explain it.
You couldn't detect.
That's
This is to put the spout in the off season.
Oh,
Go.
it's not a hole of any sort.
You can just hold it right there.
So
This you could keep. You can get at least 10 years out of this, maybe 20.
surprising.
But your yield is going to be less.
It's okay, we may not be
So
able to
how
handle as much as
often-
we get.
How often would
But when I'm doing it for my business, we replace it every 3 to 5 years because that's my livelihood. And I need to get as much sap as I can. What I would do is, if we did not have this nice $250 tool, okay? The way we would do this is we would run this out, right? Make it tight, maybe not as tight as this. This is really good. It could be just good, all right? And then what I would do is I would come through with a Sharpie and I'd mark where I want to put the drop line in at each spot. Okay, and then I would unhook them at the end so there's no tension anywhere, and I'd go through and I'd cut them and I'd just put them together by hand. And then hook it back up. So if you notice a couple things, we want to do this right. If you notice, I did this, it's about 2 to 3 inches from where the tubing wraps around the tree. It's not right up against it because it gives you some space to put that tubing tool. You're not trying to do it at an angle. You're doing it on a flat, straight part. And the squirrels are less likely to chew it there than they are going to do it right there.
like, do you prefer uphill or downhill? Is
I have no preference on uphill or downhill. I just always do it exactly the same. So if it's always going to be uphill of it or always downhill of it. We started this one downhill of it, so we're going to do that one a little downhill of it. And you keep it because this is so tight already. We don't need to cut out any more tubing, so you're going to start with it closed up. Start with it closed, clamp it down. See, you got to get it centered in it and then clamp it down.
Pinch it a little bit,
Yep.
and then I cut it.
Now you can take the tubing cutter.
Oh, that's what this is?
Yep.
Sweet. That's cool.
Nice.
Okay. Then you take a T.
Okay.
You see there's 3
After-
parts. There's a part that it goes through and then there's a part that comes up.
And this is where you need the third hand.
Exactly. So Jesse's already using his third hand there? Nope. So Jesse, see, what happened,
saw
he
that,
took his
yeah.
hand off it. And so it's not going to hold it in
I
place.
need to hold it.
You need to hold it in place. That's why you need 3 hands on the 2-handed tool.
I see. Okay, just like that.
But your hand is still, you got to keep it on it the whole time.
Okay.
You gotta
Do I
press
need
it
to go
all the way
farther?
in.
Oh, did it get all the way? Oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah, okay, great, sorry. Now you can just release it.
Nice!
Yep, so right up against, yep. You're gonna hold that fitting the whole time, and then either elbow, one of them, whatever one's more comfortable for you. You gotta make sure that, see that's not,
Oh, it's not in, huh?
you gotta make sure it's centered.
Oh, God.
I think you're getting it,
I
yeah.
am, but it's.
And then now squeeze.
The boys hold the thing for you.
Yeah, that's when I say, okay, Daniel, you go.
Okay, you're good, yeah. Now you can lift up. perfect. You can put it on, but you got to start it, which is the important part. Now clamp on one side. No, clamp on the other side.
Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Oh, because what you need to do, you're gonna have one side gonna be in there,
Oh, I see.
and the other side.
I remember you showing him that, but it wasn't clicking when I was doing it myself.
Other side. So move it around.
Oh, I see. Okay, like that.
And then you always want to set this to be like right at the edge.
Oh, so I need to close it down a little bit. So you need kind of bigger hands.
That should be good. Yeah, right there. Close that down. There you go. Perfect. You got it. So this is what I wanted to show you is how we normally do this. I don't particularly like this fitting. There's a couple reasons why. Our biggest nemesis with tubing is squirrels. And squirrels love tubing around a tree because they're always running up and down the tree. And any tubing is where it's always going around the tree, it's always bound to get chewed by squirrels at some point. So, and this fitting also, we set it up right now so it is kind of running down. You know, you want this to always be going downhill, and we got a tiny bit of pitch to making sure it's always going down the whole way around. And it would drop out of here into our bucket. But I think we're just using some leftover fittings that came from Pack Forest because our materials didn't show up in time. The fittings that we ordered, I don't think have this extra spout on them. It's just a ring fitting. It wouldn't have this or this. All it is the part that hooks onto it and a barb, and that's it. It's a dead end. In which case, if it is just a ring fitting with a dead end, this is what you do with that scenario. You take one of these one-way directional tees, and I'm going to put it away from the tree so the squirrels can't get to it. Okay. And on the bottom end here, this part of it is plugged. You can see it comes out a little bit. It's got a little nub. So that part is just completely filled. It can't go through. This is a different color. It's not like one of the regular tees where it can go straight through. That part is plugged. So I put this in here. And now, when sap comes down the line, it hits this. It can't keep on going. That's blocked. It has to come down here. And then we're going to take a piece of our tubing and we're going to run it over to, we're going to make it, no, that's not going to be long enough because we're going to put our tank right over here. All right, so we're going to get a piece of tubing that's going to be basically this long to go over to. It's going to be somewhere, so you're probably going to have like something right now. We're just going to make sure it's got plenty of length. Okay, so now when you get your tank here, you'll be able to put it in however way you want. And in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of just loop it in here a few times just to keep it up and out of the way.
1.5 inches.
Okay, let's see.
He suggested getting some, like a can of air spray just to...
Yeah. Whoa.
You're
Not on drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So So you have to be on drill. You should be on that part that says drill. Okay. I just want to. So there's definitely a lot of resistance as soon as you're getting close to the 1.5 inches.
What does that indicate?
probably the drill bit's probably getting loaded. That's what's slowing it down.
Yeah. I'm not. What do you think?
I don't. Doesn't look like a regular. Was this a tapping bit or no?
No.
Oh no. Yeah, I was gonna say this is
Yeah.
a tapping bit.
That was surprising because normally when I drill, it just zoom, zoom.
So a tapping bit
You're
is
not
a little
getting-
bit wider fluted in here, so it gives room for chips to clear. that resistance that he's feeling is that this fluting area is loading up with chips, and that's what's causing.
So we should be buying
You want to
10,
buy,
10 or 20 tapping bits.
Well, you know, 5 or 10.
yeah,
Okay, 5 or 10.
yeah, because this is what they call a parabolic.
I just got that on Lowe's.
Yeah, this is
Home
just a
Depot,
standard. Yeah, so a regular tapping bit's a little bit different, but you'll get the idea.
Yeah.
You know, of what it is. But most people make the mistake of going in and stopping the drill, full throttle all the way in, all the way out.
Yeah, holding the drill down the entire time.
Yeah.
It'll only go the distance you want it to go, so you can put full pressure.
Well, you're going to control it.
Yeah, so, but sometimes it's hard to control. And like if you want to get up here, I have no power. Okay, that is really hard for me to go. I couldn't even get it to the whole 1.5 inches. And I'm not confident that I went straight in, straight out because I didn't have, versus when I'm doing like that, I know it's straight in, straight. I got really good power just like that.
Pay attention to your wood chips too.
Yeah, yep, so great point, Steve. So, see how that white that is? You want all of your wood shavings to be pure white like that.
Otherwise
Okay.
you get the heart.
Because this tree was otherwise pretty good.
Yeah.
This was like one of your better trees.
It was.
Unfortunately,
What happened?
And the windstorm came.
first of all, this will be a bucket spout. We'll do the bucket one first. So you've tapped you've drilled your hole. I don't know if one of these is going to be, which one is long enough? Which one went in deep enough? Maybe this one.
You did the highest one.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, and it's just like somebody just mentioned, it's just tapping. With this one,
You can almost feel it too.
yeah, you hear how it changed? This is a different one. So we're gonna go right.
You wanted to thank Bucky's.
And that goes right there, and then you put the lid.
It keeps bark and twigs and small animals
Yeah.
out of your.
There you go. And that's a food grade bucket. You know, the traditional one is a galvanized pail. You're not allowed to sell your maple syrup if you use the galvanized pail anymore because of the potential for lead contamination. So a lot of people still use those old galvanized pails, but it's all hobby, small scale stuff, and they're not supposed to be selling it.
Think about these is that sometimes they break when they try to get them out.
Did you hear that difference when it got to the end? Yep. Okay, and then we're gonna do the sap sack. Okay, so have you done a sap
Yeah.
sack before?
Yeah.
I have never done this one before.
So basically all it is, you have an inside ring. You just looping this through the inside. They're great for, I used to put them on my road trees, like in a section of woods that I had. I could drive by and I could see how much sap was and decide whether I was going to collect that day or not. The only thing, there's some drawbacks to them though. If it's windy, a lot of times these things they'll tip up and get caught like this, and then the sap goes right past it on the ground. And I never had a whole lot of problems with squirrels, but people say that they have had problems with it. But it's a cheap, effective at the end of the year. Some people wash these out. Once you get plastic contaminated with sap, it's almost impossible to get them clean. So for 40 cents, you recycle these, and you don't have to worry about cleaning and all that other stuff. You just store, these, you have 25 of them in a box this big.
Yeah.
And then basically this just slides in.
And how much is
The holders are like $6, and then the bags are, well, I think they're 50 cents now, is what the bags are. They've gone up a little bit, but essentially that's it. And the cool part about this, when it's sitting on a spout like that, all you do is when you come to pick it, you have your gathering pails, and you just, and then right back on the tree. And usually what I do on the gathering pails, 5-gallon pails, you can buy plastic paint strainers that fit right in the top. And so when you're dumping them in there, if there's any bark or twigs or bugs or whatever,
or squirrels?
squirrels too. Mike's got a great picture of a squirrel. And that little filter on top just kind of gets the big debris out. Then you move on to your next tree, and
Show us the back, how it hooks on.
so it's just a hole.
Oh.
Just a hole. So
And that's the spout
the
right
great part
there.
about this is you don't have to use these. So when I first started, like I said, 5 trees. I had a couple of galvanized buckets back then, and then I went to local bakeries. Go to your supermarket bakeries and talk to the people there, and like a lot of times they'll have like 3-gallon buckets about that size that have confectionery sugar or you know, those types of food products. And they're happy to get rid of them. They'll save them for you. You'll have the lids for them.
You could get 'em done.
And then you just drill a hole in the back of the bucket just like this is.
Right.
You know, this will do the same thing if the hole's big enough. If not, you just make the hole a little bit bigger. And that can save you from, you know, it's just aesthetics too. People don't like to see, you know, some people don't care if there's white buckets hanging on the tree. Some people want, you know, just depends on your, but it's pretty simple. That's it.
It's not